Hey, Brumence.
Hey, Tes.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Well, I'm gonna say, bro, be honest. How many times did you rehearse your Canadian phone voice before making your first call?
What? Canadian phone voice. Well,
you know when you like, this is and by the time they figure out your name, you don't want the job anymore.
no fact. Actually, the first time I did one of those calls, someone actually just called me Brumence, and yeah, I just gave up.
You became a spell like introducing the
Bro.
great Brumence.
I will make your identity disappear. Don't dare me.
Yo, no. You know that old
Oh,
music?
don't even talk about it.
That's the real Canadian national anthem.
Oh, forget. Oh, Canada. It's always, your call is important to us. Please stay on the line.
Even though your rent is due and you don't exist in the system.
No. Anyway, before we scare everybody off.
Oh, yes. Welcome. You're tuned into Threads and Tides, where real stories are interwoven across culture, identity, and experience, because every thread matters.
I'm Brumence.
And I'm Tes, and this is our first very episode, which would be titled Starting from Scratch.
If you're listening to this on a crowd, in a basement, in a new country, or just in a season where you feel like, your life hit the reset button, this is definitely for you.
And yes, we made this for the ones who arrived here with a suitcase and a question mark. For the youth like me, trying to become adults in a place that feels like Google Maps in real life. And, for the men who have been taught to be strong, but nobody explained actually what that means when you're scared and, starting over. And yeah, I will start here. Before the podcast, before the mic, and I was just a new kid in Canada, moving from place to place. Every few months we moved. It felt like somebody picked up my life and shook it like a snow globe. New place, new rules, new bus route. Oh, new. You're not from here, are you? Or like, okay, yes, I'm not from here. I didn't know about college applications or like networking, meeting people, and what I knew about like holding onto hope, while sleeping in a room that wasn't mine. And slowly, tiny things started stitching me together, like youth programs, mentors, writing, my community, my friends that I made along the way. And now somewhere, I'm here now, like a mic in front of me, a friend beside me, and my story that refuses to stay quiet.
And that's the thing. I came here too, but in a different way. I would say more quiet, more in my head. New country, same questions. Where do I fit? What does success look like here? Who am I when nobody knows my past? When I have the chance to write a new chapter, what will that chapter look like? I became the guy who analyzes everything, the systems, the expectations, the unspoken rules, scanning all the strange new faces in every room that I walked into. And I realized it's not just about surviving the move. I am slowly learning that it is also about understanding myself while inside the move.
Say that again.
It is not just about surviving the move. It is about understanding yourself while in the move.
Well, what is Threads and Tides? So Threads and Tides, why that name? Let me tell you this story. Because life feels like fabric and like the ocean at the same time. It's just two things happening at the same time, like the yin and yang, the balance. You've got the threads, your culture, your childhood, your accent, the funny African accent, right? and
Your
your
roots.
family, your roots, like you said. And yeah, you've got tides, the change, the move, the jobs, the outbreak, the memorable moments, we are moving to Canada next week talks. And yeah, this podcast sits right in the middle of both, where we say, yeah, the tide is strong, but so are your threads.
Oh yes, the tide is strong, but so are your threads. And on each episode, we are going to be pulling on one of those threads. So we'll be discussing different topics ranging from finding identity, to homesickness, to financial stress, to building friendship and community, among many others. And an important thing to note is we're not coming in as experts. We are coming in as two young people who are still figuring it out. Probably a bit louder than the usual, but hopefully a lot more honest and a lot more transparent than what you'd usually hear out here.
Thank you, Brumence. And yeah, if you're open, where's this first episode for? If it's your first time and you feel like your whole life hit the reset button, and this episode is especially for you. For the newcomer, you feel like they're behind because everyone already knows the system. For the guy scrolling in silence at 2 a.m. pretending it's fine, but low-key wondering, is it just me struggling this hard? For the girl who was translating documents for her parents while trying to pass her classes and find herself, I have this message for you. You're not late, you're not broken, you're just in a messy chapter. Nobody likes to post on Instagram.
And yes, today we're going to be talking about that chapter, the chapter that Tes just talked about. That first messy chapter that nobody posts on Instagram. Yes, that is the agenda. Not just in here, it's hard, but we want to try and figure out how do we navigate this, all the mess, all the confusion, how do we go about it? We want to break down the emotional perspective of starting from scratch. We want to go into the practicality of the confusions from school to understanding work to integrating into the systems, and then we want to listen to that inner voice that keeps asking, will this ever feel like home? Will I ever belong?
Yeah, thank you for that, Brumence. I kept wondering too. Imagine this, Let me paint a quick picture before we dive in. You're in a tiny basement. The ceiling is low, but your thoughts are loud. Keep thinking, keep wondering, keep pondering every single moment. You've got one window that shows more puts than sky, and you check your phone, and it's like another rejection email. We've decided to move forward with other candidates. You just look at your resume like, back home I was somebody, but here I'm just another application number, That was me. Basement living, counting coins, looking for money, hoping confidence would show up like an Amazon package surprise in your front porch. But somewhere between all of that, awful days, the youth program that turned into family, the first job, the first time someone trusted me with responsibility, I realized that my story isn't a sub story. It's a starting point.
And that is exactly why we wanted this episode to be about that specific moment. That point in your life where you feel like everything is under construction and you don't even have the blueprint yet. When everything feels, overwhelming, when you look back and you look forward and it all seems so confusing. So we want to talk through different aspects of how, we came here, and we're going to, highlight 3 specific things, I would say. And one of them would be our landing, our fast landing. Interesting topic, Tes, right?
Very, very interesting.
The fast landing, the shock, the confusion.
Oh my God.
The what is happening here, and then we're going to move into losing and finding. That is the identities you feel like you lost in the transition of moving from, your home country to here. and the small ways that you start finding yourself again. And eventually we want to wrap it up with living forward, where we talk about, not having it all figured out, but taking it one step at a time. We're going to keep it real. We're going to talk about the shame, the pressure, the comparison, but also the beautiful, the joyful, the small wins, and how it feels when you start to feel proud of yourself again.
Yeah, and like Brumence said, we are talking as newcomers, as men, as youth who had to grow up a little bit too fast. And of course, this is still for anybody who has ever had to start from scratch. Whether you moved from countries to countries, or you changed careers, or you just woke up one day and said, this version of me doesn't fit anymore. Before we get into it, I just wanted to say this to you. Yeah, you with the headphones. You're allowed to be tired. You're allowed to be confused. You're allowed not to have a 5-year plan. And you don't have to be the strong one all the time just because your family needs you. You can learn, you can ask for help. And of course, you can also take your time to settle.
And yes, you're also allowed to be curious about yourself, to ask the deep and troubling questions like, what do I actually want? What do I want in this new chapter? What do I need to become my new self? And, not just ask yourself what you need to do to survive. This space, this podcast is a place where those questions are welcome, and we will try to find the answers together.
All right, let's talk about that first line in Brumence. The new country, the new number, the same me but somehow not moments.
Yes, the first week in Canada, Tess.
Oh my God.
Your snow globe season. I guess you're going to tell us more about that. So, how was it for you? How did it happen? How did it go? Tell us the things that no one ever tells us,
Oh my God, that's so tough. I would say, yeah, of course, talking about that moment where you touch down in a new country, it's always still in airplane mode.
Not airplane mode.
But like, for real, your body's here, but your brain is like, why is this sun going off at 4 p.m? Why is everyone so calm on the bus? No one really cares, just focus on their phones.
Yes. How was your first landing in Canada like? What was the experience?
Oh my God. Okay, you realize I have to cipher that one.
Yes.
Yeah, it is a heavy one. Picture this. When we landed, cold, but like pretending to be warm. And me stepping outside of the airport felt like I was thrown into a freezer. It was so hilarious. I had to run back in just for the warmth.
That is so relatable.
And everyone is moving like they already know where to go. I'm just like following signs and like vibes. I'm like, okay, yeah. We get picked up eventually. Instead of like welcome home, it's like welcome to temporary shared spaces, or like share the vibes, and you're carrying your whole life in like 2 bags because that's what they allow you to carry on the plane. And they be like, somehow you feel like you're forgetting something important, like your old self. Like my first week, my brain was just like, what's a SIN number?
I know.
Why is the money plastic? Like, what's going on? Because why is the Google Maps telling me it's only 15 minutes, but like this work feels like running on the Mount Everest or something?
So I think the Google Maps lies have gotten everywhere.
Yeah. I would say it's slightly inclined, like you're not climbing a mountain. For real, that first week, oh man, every door we walked to was in ours. Every night I went to sleep thinking, is this where we'll stay, or are we packing again?
So your landing was just not new country, who this, but also new country, zero stability.
Yes, exactly. I wasn't even thinking about school or career path. I was thinking, do we have this place for the month where like my stuff still be here when I come back? Is my family okay? I'd be like, on top of that, you feel this invisible pressure. You made it to Canada. Now what? Your expectations, like, go be successful. Like someone handed you a game you never played and said, beat the final boss on Friday. And I'm like, oh my God.
Oh my God, that sounds like a lot. So when you were in that first week, what did it feel like, not from the outside, not from what was happening outside or around you, but from the inside, from that inner voice? What was the emotional, take us through the emotional landscape at that time?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Inside, I felt small, and like everything around me was big. I tried to hide from everything, the buildings, the systems, the word people use. Back in my country, we used to call washroom toilet,
Yes.
or like,
me too.
I just didn't know how this works. Like the words people use, even the English sounded different, and I felt like a glitch in the system. Did everyone get the Canada tutorial except me? There's a lot of shame, I think. You don't want to admit you don't know things, you don't want to tell people, I don't know how to take this bus. And back in your country, you know how everything works, where to go, what to do, how to, connect with people more. Like on my first day in Toronto, I worked from Union to Wellesley at Central Y. I went to Central Y the first day because I was looking for information in Toronto, right? To find the newcomer information center, and getting there to find out like they moved to 365 blower. I'm like, oh my, I just had a long walk, and it was a windy morning, and I had to walk from Central Y to 365 blower. And again, it was very windy, and I didn't know how like the subway system worked. I didn't know what this form means, because like you already feel behind, like I don't know how everything works. I was just confused.
It's like you're playing an endless game of catch up. You're just playing catch up.
Yeah,
I totally relate to that behind feeling, because I think I remember from my landing as well. It was a bit different because at least I had a roof over my head. I was great. I was lucky enough that I had one of my parents here, so I was lucky to have a roof over my head. But it was still totally a feeling of being left behind, of playing catch up. It felt like I needed a software update. Exactly what you're talking about. It's like I needed a software update on like how Canada operates. On the inside, I felt small. I felt confused. Feels like walking into a movie that is halfway through, and all the actors and characters know their parts except from you. So I remember, for example, in school, everyone talking about, remember that trip in grade 7 to, and I was like, interesting, what a grade. Back home there are things you get on your exam. Here they are a whole system of school, which is totally different from ours. So yeah, I totally relate to that. Personally, if we went back, I would be thinking about growing up with my cousins. People are talking about the trips they did abroad and whatnot. So yeah, it was quite something, figuring out what exactly
dodging cousins, it's a sport.
Enjoying your mom's food. We were playing with our cousins. Here people are doing international trips and playing sports, playing sports you had no idea what they meant.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Olympic level. Oh my god. No. Well, I'll say you were on the landing outside, you're still floating on the inside.
I would say, that is exactly, how I feel, especially as a newcomer, as a guy, as a man. You tend to have this feeling that, you need to figure it out. You cannot complain. You can't look outwards. You are the one to, get it done. That was quite difficult. Sometimes I would literally be lost in the whole way. I'm not sure where I'm going, but I walk like I know where I'm going,
Yeah, that classic fake confidence walk.
Yes, that one.
Whoa, the silent pressure, especially for men. Let's talk about that man thing. Let's talk about, I'll do like a British accent now. Let's talk about that man thing now. Because I think a lot of men listening are gonna feel this part. When you land, especially if you're the oldest son or you're just the man of the house, and the world doesn't even ask, hey, how you feeling? It just goes, cool, translate this, figure it out, help your parents, get a job, be strong. You
so true.
Yeah.
No one even tells you to take a minute for yourself, process that literally your whole life has just changed. No one. They just say, welcome to Canada. Now grind, you know?
No, so what happens? Like,
Uh-huh.
you just become this quiet soldier. You're carrying bags, you're filling forms, you're checking routes, you're helping your siblings, you're helping your parents, and nobody's helping you understand what's happening inside your own head, inside your own chest.
True,
And you don't even realize that you're grieving your old street, your old friends, the version of you that knew how everything worked. And
actually, when you actually talk about grieving, I just realized that actually, as men, we're actually kind of taught to abhor or avoid that word. You know, you never use it. You just mentioned that right now, and it reminded me that yes, I actually did grieve my old streets, the streets of Nairobi, and never had a chance to process that. You know,
street of Lagos.
You just land here and left, right, and center. Everywhere you look is just welcome to Canada, but no blueprint, no map, no plan of how to figure it out, no one to hold your hand.
Well, yeah, I know.
It's just so much. It's a lot. It's overwhelming. You know.
Well, they say that you're allowed to be grateful and overwhelmed at the same time. And I believe those two can sit in the same seat.
Oh, true. Yeah. Definitely, they can hold space for one another. And you said something earlier, that you're the snow globe.
Oh,
that your life felt like a snow globe. Tell us about that.
Oh yeah, the snow globes where you like shake it and everything spins inside.
Yes.
That was me. Every time we moved, it felt like shake. New school, new neighborhood, shake. New bus route, new faces, new rules, new coffee, new everything. Nothing stayed long enough for me to feel rooted. There was one night I remember I was lying on this squeaky bed in a room that wasn't mine. I could hear someone watching TV in the common area. I just stood at the ceiling is this my life now? Is this what starting over looks like? And, I feel my story have been ripped up in my hand and handed to a system.
Oh, damn, that's quite heavy.
Yeah, but I think that's the reality for a lot of newcomers. And the first landing doesn't feel like a dream, and it feels like you're waiting in a room. You don't know how long you're gonna be in that waiting room. You're just waiting there, clueless, and just hoping for the best.
That's also true. And just to give a bit of context, let's break this down a bit. So for everyone and anyone who's listening, anyone who's in that space where they feel like, okay, what am I even feeling right now? What exactly is happening here? What is going on, From our little sharing so far, I think we can establish that there are 3 different layers to how we process this. There is one, the environmental shock, right? It's new weather, new money. Remember the plastic money test?
I know, the plastic money.
The streets are new, the language is new. Even if it's the same language, literally even if it's English, it still sounds new, So this all overwhelms our sensory organs, Our senses become swamped. They feel like they're drowning. So there is that whole environmental aspect. And then there is the systemic shock. New forms. I literally just saw a meme the other day that says moving abroad feels like sending an application to join the CIA. Every system has new paperwork, new forms to fill, be it your bank, be it your school, be it a job application, be it in the government offices, and you actually end up realizing, I'm not fluent in this country's systems. I'm not fluent in how this country does their paperwork, their filing.
Yeah.
It is quite a systematic shock because you're used to walking your streets, going to your bank, then all of a sudden that whole has changed. And then I think at the root cause is identity shock, because there's 2 parallels here. Back home, you are so-and-so's child, you went to this and this school, you lived in this and this neighborhood. So you built a whole life, you had a whole identity around you. Then you move here, you're like that new guy, from that funny place. You actually even realize that some people do not even recognize your country. They can only identify the continent that you come from. So it totally destabilizes and disorients your sense of identity. Who are you? What are you? What's your place in this, new environment? And all these three things, the environmental shock, the systemic shock, and the identity crisis, are all happening at the same time.
Yeah, Yeah, Brumence is like when you're trying to learn how to swim and the pool is like moving and someone changed the rules.
Wild.
Someone changed the rules of swimming and you're questioning if you're even a swimmer anymore. Like, what's going on here?
Like I said, it feels like you're drowning, literally. It feels like you're tired all the time. It feels like you're confused all the time. It's literally what you just said. Trying to learn how to swim in a pool that is moving.
Yeah.
Crazy. So if you are in this space and you feel like you're, confused, tired, it's not because you're lazy. It's not because you're overwhelmed. It's not because you're incapable. It's, like we just said, all these different shocks and crises and adjustments happening all at once.
Yeah, if you're a newcomer youth, if you're a young person listening, especially a newcomer youth, I want to talk to you for a second, and I want you to listen to me. You might be that kid helping your parents call agencies, translating mails, figuring out school, all at the same time, and you still go to class and everyone is talking about prom and parties, and you're thinking, I need to help my family find a cheaper place to live. What's Halloween? I don't even know what Halloween
what it is exactly, and you're feeling so out of touch.
And we're like, oh, what did you do for Thanksgiving last what did you do for Thanksgiving? What do you wear for Halloween? And we're like, you don't know what's going on.
You can't even relate.
Yeah, because I want to tell you that you're not unrelatable and you're not dramatic and you're just carrying more than what most people your age just carry.
True. And carrying all this weight it's not easy. It's okay if you don't feel like you don't fit any label, you're not really a local here, you don't really know much, and at the same time you cannot once again be who you were back home. You are somewhere in between, and that's an okay place to be. That newcomer person, that young person trying to figure out, it is totally okay to be in between. You are both, and you are trying to build something new. So you are right where you need to be.
Yeah. Like you're saying, like you're both. You're bilingual in life. You're like, it's like two words in one single body.
Literally.
Trying to like balance everything. But like,
literally.
we just, as newcomers, and we just need to learn how to balance.
Yes. And to walk that narrow path. And once you understand that not everyone can understand the weight that you carry, then I believe that should give you some grace to also, treat yourself with a bit of gentleness and understand that it's okay. And, on that note, actually, Tess, sometimes even this confusion, I think it can be very funny.
Yeah.
It can be, I bet sometimes we look back and we laugh at some of the things.
Oh yeah, 100%. I really have a story though. The first time I went to Team Ordinance, I was like, I thought double was like a separate membership code, because I was like, everyone in front of me is like, can I get a double? And what is a double? I was like looking through the menu and like, what is double? It's not even on the menu. It doesn't exist there. Like, what's going on here? I was like, okay. They were like, the waiter was like, what can I get you? I just panicked and said, a coffee. Simple. What's a double? Like, oh my God, the lady just looked at me with so much Canadian kindness.
Are you for real?
And confusion. She was like, oh, okay, just black coffee. I didn't even know what black coffee is. I was like, okay, and I just tried the coffee. I was like, what is this? No way. I couldn't drink it. It wasn't.
Man,
It felt like I was drinking an herbal concoction.
that is wild. That is totally simple, brother.
Yo.
But yeah, I think I totally relate to that. And my story is not really about the coffee. I think I totally remember an experience where like I couldn't, figure out the double. But mine was, I know this might be embarrassing, but mine was actually with a school fire alarm. So back home, we don't have all these alarms, and we don't have all these emergency response systems. So when an alarm actually goes off, it is very serious. You take it seriously. So first time a fire alarm went out in school, we were just randomly in class going through our lesson, and then the fire alarm goes off. So I expect everyone to panic, to run outside, but no, people just take out their phones and casually walk out. So I'm stuck in this confusion. I'm like, what's going on here? Should we run? Am I supposed to scream, or am I the only one hearing this? That confusion. And then my classmates just started, they're like, relax, it's just a fire drill. And I'm like, a drill? And my heart is doing cardio like this. What? A drill?
Whoa.
So I think, it's important that we share some of this so that people understand that the experience is quite confusing.
Yeah.
It's a lot to process, but at the same time, it's full of tiny, tiny moments where you can just laugh and go through it, And I think another important thing that we need to encourage is naming, identifying and naming what we're going through. It's okay to say I am in shock. It's okay to say I am disoriented. It is okay to say I am a newcomer. Don't expect yourself to have everything figured out. It will take time.
Yeah, it's like giving yourself a label that doesn't call you a failure. It just calls you like, I'm a work in progress. And if you're listening right now, I want you to literally tell yourself, in this season, I'm learning, I'm learning, I'm not late, I'm new, and I'm here.
Amen. Yes. Anyway, I think something else that we tend to do while in this phase is the comparison. Because Canada is Canada here is quite a cosmopolitan country, so we have a lot of, immigrants. So you might tend to compare yourself to newcomers who are ideally not in the same position as you. Some of them probably have already been here 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Some of them have a job, some of them already finished school, some of them have cars and are driving, posting all the cute Canada life hashtags,
Yeah.
And you start thinking, maybe I'm slow, maybe I'm left out, maybe this maybes.
Oh yeah, I did that a lot. I'm not gonna lie. And I would say I saw people after us already moving into better places, and I'll be like, did I miss a step in the Canadian instruction manual? What's really going on here? How are they doing it? I'm just like worried. I just be like, well, here's the thing. You don't know their full story, right? Yeah. You don't know what support they had that you didn't. You know what they're sacrificing behind the scenes. You don't know what's going on in their life.
So true.
Yeah, it just keeps you wondering what's going on here. Why am I stuck here?
And ideally, even if they're doing better than you, that's not your lane. That's theirs. Even if they look like they're far ahead, they are on their journey. They probably went through the same confusion that you're in the 1 year or 2 years of you starting your journey, So 2 planes can land in the same country and at the same time and still have very different routes afterward.
Of course.
So that's basically like our lives.
Say that again.
2 planes can land in the same country at the same time and still have different routes afterward.
Yeah.
That's basically how it is. Your story is allowed to move at your own speed.
Of course. That's right. Thank you, Brumence. And I feel like landing requires a lot of permission. Permission to ask questions and permission to not know, permission to be new, If I could go back and talk to basement test, which was a month ago.
Before you even got there, on the permissions thing, remember when we were talking about, the new and confused applications? So for the newcomers, for the people out there who are listening to this, you've already been given the permission, you've been granted the permission to come here. So it's now upon you to grant yourself the grace and permission to adjust, to ask questions, to not know, and to be new, just exactly how Tess has said it.
Yeah. If I could go back and talk to basement Tess, I would like, oh, you're not behind, you're just in a chapter of one book that hasn't been written yet, and stop comparing your rough draft to someone's edited version. It's different, you're not the same.
And if I could go back and talk to hallway Brumence, I'd say you don't have to pretend to understand. It's okay to ask. I am allowed to ask, can you repeat that? Can you explain that? Where can I find this? It doesn't make me any less smart. It doesn't make me any dumber. It just makes me more invested in my own life.
Yeah.
And before we move into next part of our conversation, I want to leave people, you listeners, you supporters out there, the confused, the new, the ones who are pressing the reset button. If you need some anchoring, if you need some grounding during this landing season, this season of rewriting, of resetting, of adjusting, some of the small things you can do that personally we have found to help us is, one, find one person, not 10, not 20. Find one person who makes you feel a little less alone, person who makes you feel a little less scared, one person who you think can be your safe space. It can be a youth worker, it can be your classmate, it can be your co-worker. Don't stress yourself about trying to build a whole network and figure it out and build connections. No, start with that one thread. Second thing I would suggest is try learning the systems one at a time. This month you could decide just focusing on understanding the schools, how the school system works, the school calendar, how to do applications, and focus on that. Then the next month you could maybe figure out your finances, what is a credit score, what is a credit card, how to open a bank account, which banks would be advisable, suitable for you. So don't drown in trying to figure everything out. Compartmentalize and break it down into one system at a time. And the third thing would be try and create one tiny ritual that just feels like you, that restores your sense of identity in yourself. It could be a song that you play every morning in the shower. It could be a walk around the block. It could be, making your favorite meal from back home. It could be journaling. But just find that one thing that grounds you, that reminds you of your essence, of your identity. Something that says, I exist, outside of paperwork and survival and fighting for.
Yeah, for sure. I love that, Brumence. For me, my anchor became writing and music. And even when everything felt unstable, I had my notebook. I could put my confusion somewhere else, and
you could channel it elsewhere.
Yeah, I could always channel it somewhere. I found out I really loved songwriting, music. I just try to have fun with it. So I just want to tell you, if you're listening, and maybe for you it's drawing or talking to people or even praying or stretching yourself or exercising or you're just sitting in silence with your thought, whatever it is, let it be yours. Own it.
Yes.
Own it. I would say we've talked about landing. We talk about the shock, the confusion, the Tim Hortons mistakes, and That's so funny though. Simple, but like the waiting rooms,
not the simple.
the waiting rooms, and I just want to tell you, London doesn't just change your schedule. It's like it shakes your sense of self. It shakes your essence, your value, everything you've ever known, everything you've ever determined to be right or wrong. It just shakes that.
Yeah, so true. And since we are talking about destabilizing and shaking and confusion, up next we are going to be diving into the losing and the finding. What it feels like to lose and start over.
Yeah.
What it feels like to be in the confusion, and the unexpected ways that you can start finding yourself again.
Yeah, of course. From I don't recognize myself to oh wait, I kind of like who I'm becoming.
It's going to be exciting, it's going to be interesting, and we're going to go deep. You're still tuned into Threads and Tides, unraveling real stories, one thread at a time.
Yo, every thread matters. Stay with us. Thank you.
See you at the next one.
See